Coming in at number 10, we have what was before the Big Bang. The common consensus is that there was a massive event at the beginning of time that brought all of the universe into existence, and a bunch of stuff happened and then humans showed up. I hope you realize that I'm fast tracking this whole story a little bit. But some of the brightest minds on the planet have been able to use their collective intelligence to pull back the data to the point where the universe erupted from a condensed little sliver of explosion and fired out billions of galaxies across the ever-expanding universe, but everything that we understand about physics doesn't give us any information about what was before. Many scientists have uttered the words, "It doesn't make sense anymore." Man, that must be frustrating to just not be able to crack the code. My speculation is, and I come at this with zero knowledge of how the universe works, but that before the universe started, there was Samuel Jackson. Because that guy's everywhere. He's done like 200 movies. Coming in at number 9, we have dark matter. If you get into the world of science fiction, then you would have for sure heard of some character using dark matter for something, and it's usually very dangerous for whatever reason. And why is that? Well, here's the thing, scientists still don't know what dark matter is. They have never been able to bottle the stuff and look at it closely, but the universe shows a lot of signs that it does exist. The speculation as to what dark matter is basically a web of particles so plentiful that it holds the universe together. To give you perspective, what we can see in the universe, the stars, the planets, the moons, all of that only takes up about 5% of the endless void. Now, dark matter is thought to take up 25% of the space. There's speculation that dark matter has a gravitational pull, and that's why people think it props up the universe. Other people think that dark matter is an undiscovered property of gravity. Really, we have no idea what's going on, so when you read a science fiction book and they talk about dark matter, remember that the writer has no idea either. At number 8, we have why do we sleep? Well, because Stone Cold said so. That's a super old reference that probably no one will know, but this has been a question that has baffled scientists for an extremely long time. We know the benefits of sleep. When you sleep, your body repairs itself. Sleep is good for your cognitive function. Sleep helps your brain get in information. I could go on for 20 videos about all the scientific evidence about how important sleep is for your health. In fact, getting better sleep is the easiest and cheapest way to get healthier, but the question still stands. Why? There are other organisms on the planet that never need to sleep, like bullfrogs, who won't fall asleep but they go into a rest state. There's a lot of speculation. Some people think that because our bodies are so much more complex, but they still come from the same genetic soup as a lot of the other things on this planet, our cells can't run something this powerful without taking a break. Other people think that this was some sort of defense mechanism created to wait out predators, but in the end, we still don't have the answers. Coming in at number 7, we have the multiverse theory. Now, I want to start off by saying that this theory is still very unproven. It is all speculation. There are some microwave signals that come from the universe, and some scientists think this is evidence of other universes, but it's not like gravity, where we know it's real, we just don't know why. The multiverse theory is that, very much like the infinite expanding universe, there's also an infinite number of other universes that have all different variations of reality, which is pretty much the backbone of the show Rick and Morty. This could mean that there is a universe where you are the hot chick, so feel good about yourself. Now, even if this theory was true, it wouldn't be easy to go visit these places. Beyond the fact that we would have to build something to open a gate to these worlds, the laws of physics that bind these other universes together could be so different from our own that going to them would literally tear your atoms apart. At number 6, we have why does time flow forward? Well, what is perceived as forward, you feel me? I mean, when I first was reading about this, I thought, well, because it does. It can only move one way. But why is the ultimate question. I think that's why I never became a scientist, because I never think to ask these questions. Newton wrote, all motion may be accelerated or slowed, but the flowing of absolute time is not liable to any change. And it's even in question, how could you measure the flow of time? I mean, time could stop moving right now and then start moving the very next second, and we would never be able to tell the difference because our lives continue no matter what. So maybe this is a question that doesn't need to be asked, but I'm glad that we're asking it, because one day I would like to go back in time so I can go to Woodstock. Coming in at number 5, we have how does gravity work? I mean, if you ask a flat earther, they'll tell you that gravity is fake and we're all held down by wind or some nonsense, but thankfully over here at Most Amazing Top 10, we don't use flat earth science. Now we do know the effects of gravity. It basically pulls things in, and the more mass something has, the stronger its gravitational pull. Like the moon is smaller than the earth, so if you go up there and jump around, you will feel like you should be playing for the NBA. Gravity even has a massive effect on how the planet acts. The moon's gravitational pull will pull in and out the tides, but why? Why does this happen? Coming in at number 4, we have why do magnets exist? Now we do know a lot about magnets. I mean, you can give them to a child and they can easily figure out how the opposite forces of a magnet will connect to one another and the same sides reject each other, like the majority of people I message on dating apps. We know that there are magnetic poles on each side of the planet, and we know that the electromagnetic force is one of the largest forces in the universe. But we are still left scratching our heads when it comes to the terms as to why they are here. Magnetism is one of the great underlying forces of the universe, and unlocking this one could answer a ton of questions about existence itself. Coming in at number 3, we have the placebo effect. The mind is a very powerful thing, and if you ever needed evidence, just look at the countless studies on the placebo effect. One of the craziest studies was one done on arthroscopic knee surgery. This is a common practice in older people with knee problems. A very simple surgery will be performed where 2 incisions are made on each side of the knee, and a doctor goes in and cleans out fluid and cleans up cartilage in the knee. Now the purpose of this study was to find out what was more effective, the cleaning of the cartilage or the cleaning of the fluid. In order for the study to be successful, there was a control group that was given a mock surgery without their knowledge. Slits were made on the side of the knee, and even a fake surgery was shown on a screen for the patient to watch, but no actual surgery was performed. And the control group recovered just as well, and in some cases better, than the people who had the surgery. So in other words, the mind repaired the body somehow. Now how this happens, we don't know, but it goes to show how much your thoughts can have influence over your body. Coming in at number 2, we have dark energy. Now it sounds like we're going to go into a Marvel movie or something. What on earth is dark energy? Well, have you been paying attention to the list so far? We don't know what it is. And when I say we, I mean people much smarter than me. But we speculate that dark energy is what makes up the other 70% of the universe. Now, since the universe is constantly expanding like my gut after I refuse to listen to my own body's signals to stop eating, there needs to be some explanation as to why this is happening. The speculation is that dark energy is the cause of this never-ending growth spurt. Dark energy could be created by quantum particles smashing into each other all over the known universe. This is happening so many times that it would take a good portion of this video just to count all the zeros. But these collisions create energy, which in turn is pushing the universe apart. The question is, how far can the known universe get pushed? Could it get pushed to the point where reality is ripped apart? I don't know, I'm not smart enough to answer this. And coming in for the number 1 spot is quantum entanglement. Now it sounds like I'm just making this stuff up, but I promise you I am not. This is very real. Quantum entanglement is when 2 particles that are nowhere near each other will start to mirror each other. Now why is this strange? Well, because it was long thought that only something within a particle's environment could affect it. On top of this, the only way that particles could be doing this is if they were communicating in some way to one another, like they were hooked up on WhatsApp or something. But here's the thing, these particles are so far apart and moving together so perfectly that the speed in which they would have to be sending information breaks the laws of physics. The information would have to move faster than the speed of light, which was thought to be impossible. Now, how is this happening? Once again, we have no idea, but it begs the question, will we one day be able to move faster than the speed of light? I hope so, because that would be cool.
Starting us off at number 10 is the Devil's Bible, also known as the Codex Gigas. Back in the 13th century, there was a monk who was sentenced to be walled up alive because he broke his sacred vows. Obviously, this guy wasn't a fan of dying, so what did he do? He promised the monastery that if they let him live, he would write a book that would contain all human knowledge in a day. Yikes, that might be worse than death. In order to fulfill his promise, he sold his soul to the devil himself. Supposedly, this Devil's Bible contained a complete Latin translation of the Bible and multiple other texts, such as medical formulas and even instructions for performing exorcisms. This book was created using more than 160 animal skins and apparently takes 2 people just to lift it. Although, Mysteriously, this book became a bit lighter because 12 pages are actually missing. Rumor has it, these pages contain satanic rituals to summon the devil himself. Of course, there is no way in knowing unless we read it for ourselves, so if any of you hardcore readers out there get a chance to take a peek, let me know in the comments. Coming in at number 9 is the Nazca Lines. Most of us have heard of crop circles before, but what about the Nazca Lines? The Nazca Lines, just like crop circles, are actually named geoglyphs. Now, what is a geoglyph? A geoglyph is a large design produced on the ground and usually formed by clastic rocks, stones, stone fragments, and gravel or earth. The Nazca Lines were first discovered in the 1930s when pilots were flying over the Nazca Desert in southern Peru and came across these massive drawings. The ancient Nazca civilization made up these drawings consisting of animals, humans, and plants around 2,000 years ago. There are said to be over 100 of these drawings spanning a total of 50 square kilometers. And while many can identify who and what created these massive drawings, no one alive actually knows the reason behind them. Scholars theorize that these were massive signs to give incoming sailors directions, or that they were a way to communicate with those above us. Dun dun dun! Here at number 8 we have the Roman dodecahedrons. All over the world for hundreds of years, random stone and bronze objects have been popping up in fields and sometimes even in people's yards. These objects are called the Roman dodecahedrons. These objects have 12 sides with a small circle on each and pegs sticking out of every single corner. Experts have dated these objects all the way back to the 2nd and 3rd centuries CE, but once again, they have no idea of their purpose. Many believe these objects resemble an ancient nautical devices, or were used to sow winter grains or even calibrate water pipes for Roman architects. In the end, all of these are just theories and cannot be told for sure. So maybe go and invest in a metal detector and see what you can find. At number 7 we have the King List. Dating all the way back to the 3rd millennium BCE, this giant slab known as the King List lists all of the Sumerian kings with their respective dynasties, locations, and the times they were in power. This may not seem like much of a mystery to you, but the mystery isn't the list of the Sumerian kings on the slab, but what is actually included in the list of kings. There are mythological events inscribed on the slab, as well as the events of the Great Flood and the tales of Gilgamesh, meaning that the stories from the Old Testament could indeed be true and that the kings included on the list were actually gods or demigods. Hopefully all that power didn't go to their heads. At number 6 we have the Antikythera mechanism. Back in 1900, a group of sponge divers discovered a shipwreck in the Mediterranean dating all the way back to 70 to 60 BCE. These divers salvaged 3 pieces of bronze making up what is now known as the Antikythera mechanism. This shoebox-sized artifact stunned scholars for over a century due to the fact that the object's gears and internal mechanisms were far beyond any of the known Greek tech of the time. Some even believe that this object is proof of ancient aliens' visitations to Earth. Although in the late 20th century, X-rays showed that the object is designed to track astronomical movements and was confirmed later by CT scans that revealed inscriptions for what was basically an ancient computer. While the object's use has now been confirmed, what is still puzzling is the advanced construction and precision of this tool that is believed to be way more advanced than what was available at the time. I don't know. If you ask me, I say aliens. At number 5 we have the stone spheres of Costa Rica. Ever since the 1940s, scientists have been digging up these ancient mysterious spheres in the Dicus Delta of Costa Rica. Originally discovered by agricultural forays by the United Fruit Company, small stone spheres ranging from a few centimeters wide to 2 meters in diameter and weighing over 16 tons have been popping up everywhere in the Dicus Delta. Every single one of these spheres is man-made and made up of an igneous stone known as granodiorite. Many of these stone spheres have been moved to high-profile locations throughout Costa Rica, and some are even now privately owned. Everyone seems to love them for their decoration, but the coolest thing about them is that absolutely no one knows why, how, or who made these strange objects. Seems to be a common theme, huh? At number 4 we have the bog bodies of Northern Europe. Ever since the 18th century, hundreds and hundreds of well-preserved human bodies have been discovered in the peat bogs of Northern Europe. Some of these bodies have been dated all the way back to 8000 BCE. Some of you may be familiar with the famous Toland Man, who was discovered back in 1950 by 2 Danish farmers in a small town in Denmark. The Toland Man is believed to be from the pre-Roman Iron Age of the 3rd century BCE. His body was so well preserved that scientists were able to look at the contents of his stomach to determine where he lived. Now, I know what you're thinking. Dewey, this sounds amazingly gross and cool, but where's the mystery, my dude? Well, I'm glad you asked. All of the bodies that have been found have no explanation as to why they were placed in the bogs, nor why this way of disposal would be utilized. There are only speculations that these people were either sacrifices or social outcasts who were fated to meet their doom. Wow. And I thought high school kids were mean. Coming in at number 3 is the underwater ruins of Japan. Just under the surface off the coast of Yonaguni-jima is Japan's very own Atlantis. First discovered back in 1995, divers and researchers believed the findings to be nothing more than just a series of weird rock formations that included straight lines and right angles. Later, there were researchers that discovered a large stone gateway, carved stairways, and streets to huge vaulting towers. Many believe the underwater mystery to be the fallen city of the Jomon people. Experts believe that the city didn't fall into the sea like other fabled underwater cities, but actually slowly submerged over thousands of years. It is believed that this site could hold secrets and answers to all of the other theorized underwater cities around the world, such as Atlantis. Now, we could continue to theorize, or we could just believe that Aquaman starring Jason Momoa is actually a documentary and he currently does live in the ocean. I could see it. At number 2, we have the Piri Reis map. In 1929, this old map was found in the Sultan's palace in Istanbul, Turkey. A legendary commander of the Ottoman fleet by the name of Piri Reis, who lived from 1465 to 1553, is the author of the map. Reis's map is extremely precise. So precise that it actually includes the continent of Antarctica. But wait, hold the phone. Antarctica wasn't discovered until 1773 by British Captain James Cook. But yet, here is Piri Reis's map showing Antarctica back in 1513. Was Antarctica actually just discovered much earlier than originally thought? Or did James Cook just take credit for someone else's hard work? We might never know. Finally, coming in at number 1 is the infamous Big Daddy Stonehenge. In case you've been living under a prehistoric rock for the last few thousand years, you've probably heard of Stonehenge. Stonehenge is a giant prehistoric monument that is located in England and dates back to 3000 BC. The monument consists of a ring of standing stones all weighing around 25 ton, originally from a quarry located 25 kilometers or 15.53 miles away from the current monument. Not one person knows how these ancient people could have moved these massive stones without the use of a wheel or pulley, or why they were even formed in the first place. Is it an ancient observatory? Healing place? Did ancient aliens create it as a landing pad? We may never actually know.
Coming in at number 10, we have the Pixar theory. Let's kick off this list with one of the best branches of Disney, and that is Pixar. A few years ago, a very interesting theory came forward about Pixar, and it was that all the movies exist in the same universe and on the same timeline. That sounds pretty insane, but they actually put a lot of work into making these string together. There's a website called the Pixar Theory that breaks it down. It needs to be updated to accommodate for some of the newer movies, but what has been laid out so far makes a lot of sense. It starts with Brave. The magic from that movie gives life to superheroes in The Incredibles. The 0 point energy that Syndrome uses eventually leaks out into toys in Toy Story and makes them intelligent and alive. Resentment eventually builds between humans and toys as they are mistreated. At this point, we start to see advanced life in the ocean from people experimenting on fish, thus finding Nemo. The experimentation spreads to rats, in which they become intelligent, and then we get Ratatouille. The toys are planning a war against people, and the BLN company is polluting the earth, so the old man and Up decides to hightail it out of civilization. In hiding, he starts breeding an army of intelligent dogs. This leads to a war between animals and humans. The 0 point energy that got into toys is now in machines, and they get into cars. The machines side with humans and help them win the war, and the BLN company that knocked down the old man's house in Up continues to pollute, now at an even larger scale because machines are sentient. Eventually, the planet is uninhabitable, and we get WALL-E. The plant at the end of WALL-E lays the foundation for a bug's life, and then thousands of years after that, we have a world that is dominated by a new life form, which is monsters. The question would be, how do these new movies fit into this theory, and is this theory true?
Coming in at number 9, we have Debbie Stone. Now, I've talked about the mysterious death of Debbie Stone before, the 18-year-old hostess at Disney for the musical performance America Sings. But today, I'm going to dive deeper into this mystery. So America Sings was a new attraction, one where you would be seated in a theater facing a stage, and after each performance, the theater would rotate. But during one performance, Debbie Stone somehow got trapped between the rotating wall and the stationary stage wall. she was instantly crushed to death. Now, how she got trapped between the walls in the first place is the mystery. Here's where stuff doesn't add up. Her coworker and some audience members said that they heard the screams but thought that it was part of the show. Okay, but the coworker probably saw the show how many times? They would have known that the screams weren't a part of the show. Also, in one report it says that her body was found an hour later. In a different report, it said that she was found directly after the show. So, which one was it? And how come no one investigated right after hearing the screams? One theory, according to a Reddit user that apparently knew a cast member that worked with Debbie, said that she was showing off her new engagement ring. She extended her arm over the safety line of the stage in the rotating seat and got crushed. But like, why didn't that employee report her death right away then? Another theory is that she was pushed between the walls, but we still don't know 100% for sure what truly happened to her.
Coming at number 8, we have why does Triton have Poseidon's trident? For this one we need to dive a little bit into Greek mythology. For those of you who don't know, the king who is Ariel's father in The Little Mermaid is King Triton. Now in Greek mythology, Triton is the son of Poseidon, and although he possesses great power, he doesn't have quite the power that his daddy does, and he doesn't wield a Triton to control the seas. He actually has a conch horn, which is obviously much less menacing. But in The Little Mermaid we see Triton ruling the 7 seas with his daddy's weapon, and is quite irresponsible with it when he lets it fall into the hands of Ursula. If we're going to go through the tropes of Greek mythology, it's pretty common for sons to kill fathers or fathers to kill sons. We have Kronos, who was devouring his children, and then he was eventually killed by his son Zeus. So is there a chance that Triton killed his father so he could take his trident and rule the 7 seas?
Moving on to number 7, we have the ghost of Space Mountain. Now, according to multiple Disneyland guests and park employees, Space Mountain is haunted by a male spirit. Who is this man, or why he haunts this particular ride, is still unknown. Former Disney cast member Marla Whisk believes that the ghost everyone is seeing is that of Mr. Wedway, a man who died while helping to build the ride. But at Disneyland, the ghost is called Mr. One-Way. Apparently he likes to hang out in the Space Mountain line. He's described as a big man with red hair and or a red face. Others think he manifests himself as a young kid dressed in 70s clothes. When he's the man, he tends to remain silent and he just kind of lurks in line. But when he's the kid, he chats away, oblivious to the modern changes of the world, which shocks the park guests. Other times, people have seen this man fall off the ride. Marla claims that multiple guests have seen this and then freaked out, saying that someone fell off the ride. But no, it's just good old Mr. One-Way. Also, why is his face red? Like, is he just badly sunburnt, or like, is it red? That's what I want to know. That's a mystery.
Coming at number 6, we have why did Meg's boyfriend leave? One of the cruelest things in the Disney universe is when the Disney princess from Hercules, my favorite Disney movie, gives up her soul to Hades so she can save her boyfriend. This is something she did because she was madly in love. People will do wild things when they're in love with someone. But after this guy's released from the underworld, he walks out on her. What the hell? Excuse me, dude? Someone just sold their soul for you. They put it all on the line. They deserve some of your time. The movie never covers why some dude thinks it's okay to leave her in the dirt. It makes sense why she would double cross Hercules. I wouldn't trust anyone if I got that kind of move pulled on me. Talk about waste man of the week.
We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with The Small World. Okay, for starters, the Small World ride at Disney is terrifying. I don't know how I ever liked that ride, and honestly, a number of people believe that it's cursed. In fact, in 2010, a Disneyland Paris worker died at that ride. Apparently he was cleaning the ride when he fell into the water and got trapped under a boat. He later died in the hospital. But the thing is, that's all the information that was released to the public. We don't know how he fell into the ride or how he managed to get trapped under there. And like, who found him? Because he didn't die on scene. He died later in the hospital, meaning someone would have had to found him within minutes before he drowned. But for starters, he was cleaning when the park was closed. So like, was someone in there with him? If there wasn't anyone in there with them, then how did they even spot him if he was lodged under the boat? Just a lot of things don't add up here, and they never followed up with the story, so we don't know what happened.
Coming in at number 4, we have the Disney water park River Country. It's no surprise that the people at Disney are constantly trying to find new theme parks to keep things interesting. I mean, they have California Adventure Park that is a roller coaster with a double loop. I will never forget that ride because I rode it with my mom and she screamed so hard when she was sitting beside me. I couldn't stop laughing. I was laughing so hard to the point where my body was limp and just kind of getting thrown around in the roller coaster. But I doubt any of you out there have been to River Country. This was Disney's attempt at making a massive water park where you could slide down water slides, eat overpriced food, and swim in water that is 97% pee. Even though an aqua-themed Disney park should have been a hit, it was shut down. Now why was that? Most people just think it's because the park simply wasn't making enough money to keep running, but the story on the sly was that there was some sort of bacteria in the water that was toxic and the whole park had to be shut down before they got sued. But you didn't hear that from me.
And at number 3, we have Rebecca Corium. I've talked about this mysterious case before, it's just that nothing about this case makes sense. So on March 22nd, 2011, 24-year-old worker on the Disney Wonder cruise ship, Rebecca Corium, disappeared without a trace. No one knows what happened to her. Did she slip and fall off the boat, or was she murdered and tossed overboard? At 5:45 that morning, CCTV footage caught Rebecca talking on the phone on deck 1. She seemed visibly distressed. That was the last time she was ever seen again. At 9 a.m., Rebecca didn't show up for her shift, and the search was on. Now, here's where it gets really weird. Disney lied to Rebecca's parents about a number of things surrounding the case. For starters, they lied and said that the phone call took place on deck 5. They even cropped the CCTV footage so that it didn't say what deck she was on, but in an unedited version, they saw that it was actually on deck 1. They continued on lying, saying that the wave washed her off of deck 5 that night after the phone call. Again, she was never on deck 5. Then the Disney crew also gave the parents a sandal, which they claimed was Rebecca's. So here's her sandal, she must have fallen overboard. It was both the wrong size and style of hers. And when the Coast Guards went to scan the ocean to try and see if Rebecca fell overboard, they were told the wrong location to search. So theory goes that Disney knows exactly what happened to Rebecca. Somewhere they have the tape that shows what happened to her. I mean, even a worker said that the ship has a lot of cameras and everything is taped. So where is this tape? And why does Disney not want anyone to know the truth? Sus.
And coming in at the number 2 spot, why did the glass slipper not vanish? This is one of the biggest plot holes in story history, not even just movie history, in any story ever. So in Cinderella, we have our famous princess at the ball with the prince, and we all know the story. She got a wish from their fairy godmother, and she had until midnight to woo the prince. After midnight, the spell was broken, and everything would return back to normal, and it does. Her horses turn back into mice, her dress turns into rags, her chariot turns into a pumpkin. Everything returns to its original unmagical state other than the glass slipper. But why? It doesn't make any sense. The slipper should have transformed all the same. It should have been a stinky wooden clog the prince would have gotten one of his servants to throw out. Was it only the items that were on her body that would change back? I need answers now. I need them right now.
And in our number 1 spot, we have the hanging. One woman shared her very odd experience she had back in 1999 when she went to Disney with her family. So during her trip, in which she was 12 at the time, her and her family went on the It's a Small World ride. Again, it's cursed. Well, during the ride, it was stopped. The lights turned off, and the moving display with the creepy children stopped operating. Safety lights came on, and Disney employees wearing red overalls came to help everyone evacuate the ride. They said that there was a safety concern. They were then escorted through the emergency exits and were told to remain looking forward and to follow the staff. After being escorted out, they found the ambulance and police in the parking lot. But while this was all going down, her mom was taking photos. And in one image, she caught something very creepy. The mom took a photo of the ceiling by accident, and up hanging from the rafters, we see what appears to be someone hanging. Is it a ghost? Is it a doll that was hanging up there to scare someone? Or is it something more sinister? We may never know. And